let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. Get your lick back. If a nigga owe you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop letting this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. I feel like I'm JX.
J-Way.
I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless.
I'm gone.
Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck.
Give me
Into
that.
the trends. See a lead, be the band.
And welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. I'm here with my co-host, Coach. How you doing today?
Oh, doing good. Some other sporting teams that we follow, whatnot, but we got some announcements to go over fresh off the hot stove down in Lakeland. But yeah, for those watching in the YouTubes, had to give our alma mater here behind me in the background, our Western Michigan Bronco hockey team, a little shout out after their NCHC sweep of the regular season Penrose and the NCHC tournament champions last night in double overtime.
Yeah, for those that that don't know, me and Coach are alma maters of the Western Broncos. So when we have some time to get away from the Tigers and all the other teams that we follow, we always got to show love to the alma maters. They weren't very good when we were in school there, but they've since put together a nice string of a nice dynasty string of good teams. So yeah, the Broncos are making some moves, but we are here for the Detroit Tigers. We are only 4 days away from opening day. They have a game today against the Philadelphia Phillies, which highlights a lot of some of our younger talent. But after that, we have a final exhibition in San Francisco to prepare us for the opening day in LA. And that's what we got to talk about, because the roster has, since the week has gone, has chopped down a little bit. We now have a 5-man pitching rotation. And yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get right into it. The starting five rotation is as Tarek Skubal, Jack Flaherty, Reese Olson, Jackson Jobe, and Casey Mize. Probably Casey Mize and then Jackson Jobe, but somewhat controversial is the word. But what are your thoughts on Jackson Jobe making the opening day roster?
Oh man, we just want to get right into the big news first here, don't we?
No time to waste, man.
It's a good problem I'm not going to sit here and overanalyze this. It's a good problem for them to have. I mean, and that's considering Alex Cobb being hurt too. So that kind of created this opportunity right now. For those that have been following, I kind of been leaning towards Montero getting this fifth spot, just because we know largely it's going to be a temporary appearance for whomever it was. But we'll see. Small sample size from Jobe last year, a little shake in the Houston playoff game, kind of was thrust into the major league spotlight in the middle of a playoff race. So we'll see what this kid's about. There was a quote, I believe, of him just about a week or two ago stating, I'm not overanalyzing the approaches anymore in my at-bats. I'm just going to say, you know what, here's my go-to pitch. If you can hit it, great. Tip my cap to you. If you're not, good luck. That's kind of the mentality he's got right now. So sounds a little bit like Skubal to a degree. So we'll see what the current star, the OG Flaherty, and some of the other guys can help bring him about, and the day-to-day routine as he can break camp opening day with the club.
Yeah, I mean, I love that confidence and that fire. Obviously, has been instilled some type of confidence that he has the room to make some mistakes and allow people to make some contact, because if he thought he was truly fighting for his life, he probably would be a little bit more cautious. But I think ultimately that's the the fire and confidence that we want out of a young star. So we will see. Obviously, like you said, we're in a good position to where we're not desperate and we're not lacking in the starting pitching category. Um, I did think that I mean, I was pretty emphatic that we were gonna see him take a little bit more time in AAA, but I'm still excited. It's gonna be electric when he makes that first start in Comerica Park, and we'll just have to hope for the best. But we talked about offline what they will do with Alex, what they will do with Alex Cobb when he returns. Um, in my opinion, I think that e- I think ultimately they probably expand. I think they will probably just expand the starting rotation. And, if Maeda is the least bit, struggling the way he was last year, I mean, you might see them just cut their losses whenever that is, because that would ultimately open up a spot. But do you have any clue about or have any thoughts about how that would play out?
Well, I mean, it looks like it's pretty cut and dry right now in terms of what the uh, incorporating move would be for Cobb to return. But I mean, there's no rush to get Cobb back immediately. It's not like he's Derek Skubal or Olsen or any other, honestly, literally any of the other guys that we have in the rotation. So you've got some ongoing potential issues, not really issues, but ongoing long-term injury recovery processes with, Cobb. This is not a long-term injury, don't get me wrong, but he was coming off of one in his, 4 or 5 appearances he made last year at the very tail end of the season. So didn't quite really get his legs underneath him before the season ended. Now he's battling a new injury, but you got Sawyer Gipson-Long as well, still battling a lengthy recovery process in his own right. So they will have to kind of take stock in what some of the other guys are doing over the course of that time and evaluate, okay, who are we going to move down to make room? Because these guys are on the injured list. Obviously, they're still good enough to partake and contribute to the 26-man roster. So, I mean, it would be weird if they were just outright be like, you know what, Cobb, I think we got what we need. We're really in a spot for you. We're going to let you go. I don't see that happening, mainly because they still haven't cut Maeda yet. So, I don't really think there's any creativity in terms of, how they handle this. I think it's going to be a short-term stay for Job. And when Cobb's come back, it'll most likely be him because I don't see anyone else right now that has options. It's going to go down.
I don't know. I mean, if Job is lights out the gate, which spring training, if there's any indication of spring training, there's a chance that he's gonna have some struggles. But I think that Job starts the year 3-1 with a 350 ERA. Would that seem appropriate for him to be sent down? Knowing that Cobb is now ready for action.
Well, I mean, you signed Cobb to be your starter, and there's no room in the bullpen. And I'm making a move. Let's just say this. Let's say they do cut Maeda and they transition Cobb to the bullpen. They're not really doing themselves any benefit that way. I mean, you already committed all the time and resources into Maeda and getting him ready in the offseason and spring training, and he got some innings this spring to try and prove that he maybe has something left to get in the rotation again. And didn't quite work out. He was okay, but I don't see any number that Job can throw out there unless he throws 3 consecutive shutouts or something crazy like that. Because everyone else is established on that rotation. I mean, it would be a bold move to just DFA Casey Mize I mean, because you kind of don't really have any other options in that regard unless it's a bullpen guy. But their bullpen guys this spring have kind of been beaten up a little bit. So I don't know if cutting one of those guys sends a good message to anyone else that's currently going, trying to work through some issues.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I don't see. I mean, I guess you're anticipating that Mize struggles out the gate, because I can't even see that happening, especially as good as he's been so far this year.
Well, I don't mean suggesting he's going to struggle, more so like he would be the odd man out just because he's got, one more year of club control. And, you look at guys like Flaherty, obviously you're not cutting. Skubal, untouchable. Reese Olson has options, but he has far and away been progressing. I mean, before he got hurt last year, he could have been on the cusp of a potential like All-Star vote-in type pitcher. He just wasn't getting any run support. That was well noted. So I don't know who else you would really key on to say, well, you're kind of just the odd man out, even if you are pitching well. There's just not enough room to cut, because that's a big step for them to take if they end up cutting a guy outright versus just sending someone down 1-for-1.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, obviously we had some roster moves. This past week, we are now down to 37 players on the 37 players on the roster, with 3 of them being non-roster invitees. But who are the major individuals that were sent back down to AAA?
Well, you had Gunther was one, I think, was kind of an underlying one. Jace Young, I think, was no surprise to us that he was going to be sent down. There's just, we talked about it in depth last show. They're now, up until that point before the other day, they were just heavy left side infield with all honestly subpar options, at least with guys in their performance last year, heading into this year in the spring, with Sweeney McKinstry most likely getting the bulk of the flexible playing time behind Baez when he's available and healthy. We don't know if Javi's going to be getting, a normal workload early after game 1, or if it's just going to be, based on the pitching matchup and how he's feeling on a day-to-day basis. But obviously I don't think they're going to just be like, hey, you seem ready to go. Here you go. Just here's 6 out of the first 8 games you're starting. You're playing all 9. I don't think that's happening. But those are the 2 big ones, or bigger ones, I should say, to make room for. Now you've got a couple of non-roster invitee battles going on. Travis Nido, great story this spring. I know you've been following him, and he's kind of been impressed us with some of his power and slugging. That's kind of really put him on the radar now and provided a good third backup option to both Dingler and Rogers in case one of them goes down. But the final battle really is going to be with Jomani Jones in the outfield. I think he makes it. I mean, I wanted to say he made it, but then you get this news about Manuel Margot, and it's like, I don't know. He was just released, and Johnny Jones has been with this organization since day 1 spring training and seems to gel with them. So I will be surprised part 2 with the Job announcement being the other one, I think, for me, potentially coming out of spring training.
Yeah, we got Troy in the building. He says, "What's up, guys? I'm glad Job is up. He got great experience last year's playoffs. Yeah, I'm excited to see him. Definitely going to make it a point to get out to the stadium for one of his starts. But yeah, as you mentioned, Tomas Nido and Jahmai Jones definitely had hot beginnings to the spring. I will definitely say, although I would say, Nido was more so in a lesser lesser opportunities because he kind of had more people ahead of him with Dingler and Rogers. But Jahmai Jones has kind of come back to earth too, to a more realistic, performance. But a couple with the fact that he probably isn't a major league caliber infielder, which would certainly give him some leverage. I think that they will probably elect to, hold on to him as a depth guy to play every day in AAA, knowing that he, is ready and capable to, to be called up in the event that they need him. And yeah, like you said, the recent signing of Manuel Margot, who is, fresh off the Milwaukee Brewers roster, it appears that the Tigers are looking outward. I don't know how that factors into the the roster makeup and how that how all that will play out. But yeah, Jahmai Jones has had a solid spring, but he has kind of come back to reality a little bit. And, I can't say, I mean, as much as I would, like to see Jones get rewarded with kind of defying the odds and coming in as a non-roster invitee. I'm also not mad at the Tigers being, prepared and, and ready for, a realistic, everyday option. Let's pull up see if I can pull up Mr. Margot's Savant page. I'm sure it will not be able to catch all of it, but we'll kind of break it down a little bit. All right. This is his Savant page from last year. Some of it's cut off, but when you break it all down, well, first and foremost, this is a full season of action in Minnesota last year. He had 315 at-bats, which is a decent sample size. He's a very above average base runner. Wasn't very good defensively last year. Said he was a non-qualifying, but he was a 0 range as far as range and outs above average. A 32 percentile as far as arm value. His expected batting average was pretty good. He appears to be a guy that, oh man, I'm looking at the wrong one. 2022. Okay. All right. So as we look at 2024's Savant page, above average base runner. He was in the 72nd percentile and 84th percentile in whiff rate and strikeout rate. So this is a guy that doesn't strike out very often. He doesn't swing and miss very often, but he appears to be a free swinger as well because he only walks at a 20 percentile clip, 6% clip. He had good arm run value last year in the 69th percentile, but didn't provide very much range, using a -4 outs above average. So this is a guy that plays left field and obviously more so out there for his bat than his defense. But he sprays the ball to all fields. He hit only 4 home runs last year and 315 at bats. But I don't know. This doesn't. Are you more familiar with this guy? I don't really. You said that. I think you said that he played in San Diego for a good amount of his career.
Yeah, unless it's a different guy because he's been around, I believe, right?
Yeah, he's 30. He's 30. He's been around the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really been a Tiger killer or anything like that. Had success with the Tampa Bay Rays for a minute. Like you mentioned, very average numbers, slightly plus WAR as his power's declined a bit over the years. Yeah, he played at the Padres for his first 4 years, Tampa with 3, and then Minnesota last year. More known for his glove, a little bit above average fielder. his career numbers, 254, 56 home runs, and 314 RBIs. Just your run-of-the-mill outfielder. Nothing too crazy to take home with. Obviously, this is a Band-Aid for Parker, considering that he will be out for at least another 4 weeks where he can start throwing. So that's 4 weeks plus whatever program, throwing, hitting, he's got to get into to get back to game level conditioning and speed. So I don't know. We thought the other week we had the guy in Johnny Jones, and now Margot comes in the picture. It kind of makes you wonder how they're thinking about certain guys that they have right now, if they're going out to, free agency to have to, supply additional depth that we thought we maybe had.
Yeah, let me pull up the spring training numbers. I definitely feel like Jones kind of fell back into like the lower twos as far as average is concerned, which probably didn't help his case. But let's see here. So Jahmai Jones is currently hitting 205 with 2 home runs and 8 RBIs. So good power numbers. He's still hitting. His OPS is still 802, but yeah, I think his numbers have tapered off a little bit, and maybe there's some doubt as to whether or not he will translate, especially considering he doesn't. The one thing we can say about Margot is he's had a full Major League Baseball career. He's proven that he can hang on a 40-man roster for years upon years, whereas Jahmai Jones has been more of a, high potential, obviously highly touted second round pick, but it hasn't yet translated to significant time in the major leagues. So yeah, I certainly believe that we will at some point see Jones throughout the year. We'll probably get a chance to see Margot. But, obviously we'll be in our best, we'll be in our best shape when Vierling and Meadows get back. Hopefully, we obviously got some good news. We obviously got some good news regarding Vierling, but Meadows appears to be a little, still quite a ways away from, getting back out there. So we're going to get to our first break, and then we're going to elaborate more. All right, so we kind of talked about injuries a little bit, but do you have an update on where we're at with that?
Yeah, so obviously the two big news about Vierling being able to resume some of his programs, hitting and fielding and throwing. So that's good news. He's progressing along pretty much along the timeline they had generally kind of laid out. Parker was the one that the other day they announced that's a little more concerning. It'll be 4 more weeks from yesterday before he'll be scheduled to review to throw. So it's already been what, Mike, 2 weeks? I don't think it's been 3. It's definitely been 2 weeks for him already. So you're looking at 6 weeks plus whatever program he needs to complete in conditioning and whatnot. Just because if he's still shut down, he can't throw, can't swing the bat, you kind of take a lot of what he's able to practice on and stay somewhat relatively close to game ready in any fashion, kind of out of his hands. So I would say right now you're looking at probably mid-May, tentatively, if that's 1 to 2 weeks to really ramp up his, simulated hitting, fielding, throwing, getting used to, live action again. So I wouldn't expect anything longer than that. So early mid-May for sure for Parker. So those are the 2 big ones. I thought I read that Wenzel Perez reacted nicely to that injection that he had last week. I did see he has played. I think we talked to, he had a single or 2 hits in the first game back. So he looks good, which is which is obviously good. They're gonna need him. It's gonna be an all hands on deck to start the year for these guys. But yeah, not too much else in terms of team injuries internally. We've heard some news externally, but I think there was one other one. I think Ty Madden, I don't know if this is an older one, but it came up as a more recent update. Will not be ready for opening day and will miss the beginning portion of the season. Beyond that, there's no timetable for potential rehab recovery to start at that time.
Yep. And just to recap the week, not too much to fun to watch. Jack Flaherty had a pretty good outing the other day.
Very good.
So he bounced back from a pretty rough outing that he had on the last one. So all the pitchers pretty much look ready for action. Scooble had another great outing as well. We got a nice little offensive outbreak the other day. I think we had 9 runs in our split squad game against Baltimore. Baltimore was the game. One game was against Baltimore. The other one was against the Yankees. The Yankees game, I think we got shut out in that game. But Briseño hit his first home run of the spring. And as I always like to say, Kryler had to cause some confusion before he got sent back down to AAA. He hit another home run. I think he ended up with 2 home runs on the spring. Zach McKinstry has actually hit the ball pretty well. I think he's currently hitting about 256. So after a slow start, he's ready to be the opening day third baseman. So get ready. I think McKinstry, Briseño, and Kryler all had home runs in that game, but that was to the tune of 9 runs overall. But let me see if I can pull up. This is my pull up my opening day lineup here. Let's see here. There we go. So how does it look? Can you see it?
Yep. Very good right there.
All right. So we got Wenceel Perez as the starting center fielder, batting leadoff. I've also seen Torres hit some leadoff as well, so you might get a chance to see that. But right now, I got him in a 2 slot. Got Riley Green in, what is that, left field?
Yeah.
Got Kerry Carpenter in right field. Cole Keith, who's having just a crazy spring. I think he's hitting like 330 right now. Last touch, yeah, it was over 300 for sure. Got Torque at DH, Baez as starting shortstop, McKinstry as the everyday third baseman currently, and then Jake Rogers as the catcher. Now, looking at that, what do you feel are your biggest concerns going into the year?
I mean, the injuries hurt us on paper, hurt us more defensively right now.
Yeah.
Without question, too. You've got Vierling and Meadows, who frankly make, when they're in the outfield together, if Carpenter's DHing or whatnot, whatever situation he's got going on, and he's not playing the field, man, that outfield is locked down defensively. And then if he's not and Kerry's playing right and Vierling comes in and he's playing third, that also helps anchor the infield defense, where we did struggle mightily in the first 3 or 4 months of the year. Our infield defense last year was fairly atrocious overall. Keen on a couple guys. So while I worry for the defensive side, I think what also is going to compound this is what they've brought to us offensively too, that we were already limited to begin with. So now you bring in guys like Manuel Margot, non-roster invite Jahmani Jones. And then Torkelson having the well enough spring he needed to, in my opinion, and I think we confirmed this the other week, secured a spot at least opening day and beyond the short term to prove what he's got. But you're talking about Parker, left-handed bat, Vierling right-handed bat. That hurts the approach for Hinch in terms of mix matching. Pitchers and hitters and how they approach and pinch hit and take advantage of those opportunities. But I think the offense, I worry the most with. Now you got guys who've barely played with this team, this group of guys at all, or more than a month. So you don't know what that cohesiveness is like. You don't know how they're going to fit in terms of their day-to-day and their process and how they feel coming into the clubhouse and getting ready for game day. So there are questions on both sides, but I think offensively, because a lot of the other young guys who aren't going to make the club right now had good springs. So, and they're not going to be with us. So this is going to be a challenge. You have new guys and new positions outside of Colt, Keith, new position, sure. But yeah, I think you got legitimate questions on both sides, and it's going to have to be the pitching that carries them for the first couple weeks of the year.
Yeah. So to your point, the defense is definitely going to be a question mark. Matt Vierling and Parker Meadows are certainly two of your more reliable defensive players. So we definitely lose something there. In addition to that, I think the bottom of the lineup could be very. I think that I still have some questions about Wenceel Perez and how he's going to perform, because he was, semi hampered by a back injury. And, I don't think we've seen a lot of him play the leadoff. He very well might not even be the leadoff hitter, but I'm not fully convinced of him as of right now. But I think the middle of our lineup is very dangerous. Torres, from everything from Torres down to possibly Torque, depending on where Torque is at. I think you have some dangerous guys that have the potential to take you deep on any given at bat. But when you get to the bottom of the lineup, Baez, McKinstry, Rogers, it's kind of a potential 1, 2, 3 inning waiting to happen right there. I think we'll be in a much better place when you can put Meadows at the top of that lineup, and then you can have a Vierling at the 7th spot and it not be an easy out. So, I think that the defense and the bottom, the bottom portion of our batting lineup are two things that I'm concerned about. No reservations about our starting pitching as of right now. The bullpen, maybe we'll see. And then just the whole Baez and the whole Baez and Sweeney dynamic. Neither one of them had dazzling springs overall, so shortstop's a pretty premium position for you to have question marks at. So, couple that with the fact that, Zach McKinstry is penciled in as your everyday third baseman because you're not going to play Ibanez versus righties. It's not the best situation, but like I said, when Vierling comes back, it's gonna help shore up some of those question marks. Also got to find a way to get Malloy in there, because either way you look at it, you're in a position that unless Riley Green's playing center field, that's the only way you can squeeze in a Malloy in the corner, who's played a lot. He's played a lot of corner outfield this past this spring, just to give him more flexibility. But you put Riley Green in center, you put Malloy in the corner, that still gives you an opportunity. Well, Carpenter. Yeah. No. So you put Green you get Green in center. You put Carp in right field. You put Malloy in left field, and then Torque in DH, right?
Yeah.
And then Colt plays first, and then Torres. So I think that's our best lineup. I think that's our best case scenario. The issue there is that you don't want Riley Green playing a lot of center. I mean, Hinch kind of laughed it off, but I don't think he was pleased about Green diving out there. I didn't see it personally, but I know they talked about it. Like, not in a spring training game, Hinch says, but yeah, I think there's still, people are still questioning whether or not you keep, Malloy is hitting 326 as of right now. He hasn't hit any home runs, but he's hitting the ball right back up the box nearly every time he's making contact. He's striking out less. I feel like he's changed his approach. He knows the power will come. He's, physically, built to be a power guy, but I think he made it a point to, just make himself more of a RBI machine because he's not striking. He's not going to strike out in those situations. So, but any other points that you want to make about, obviously we got McKinstry out there right now at third base, but there's a possibility you're going to see in some situations Sweeney at short and Baez at third as well. So, but yeah, anything else you want to touch on before we get back?
The one thing we have to consider now too is with the starting lineup list is it's like, well, they signed Manuel Margot and they signed him to play. So while that last lineup we threw out with Malloy and Carp out there with Green playing center, unless Margot is getting the off day, I think that also kind of limits Malloy too, additionally, in the fact of getting some additional opportunity with the flexibility that they still have remaining. So, because your point too, they're trying to avoid Riley having to play as much center field as possible. Sporadically, sure, but the lesser the better for potential risk exposure. But that's that's any game. But it's we have general concerns. I think as many of us follow the team, there are going to be some concerns, and there's no point in really trying to iron out what we really think is going to possibly go wrong because we don't really know what these guys are going to look like, until at least probably 2 or 3 series into the season in terms of any type of feel of what they're going to be capable of. So, yeah, it's a very interesting lineup aspect of it. I think it's going to be – we probably won't have the same starting lineup probably the first 30 days, I think, in consecutive games, probably, all things considered. Not that would happen normally, I feel like, just with the approach that Hinch has, and he likes to, best utilize the starting pitcher matchup against his offense, which usually incorporates different guys moving around. So, but we'll see. These guys are going to have to be, ready on their toes. It's not just going to be, oh, I'm not starting today, so I get to enjoy the game from the bench. All these guys are going to get in pinch running, defensive substitutions, realignments, pinch run maybe a little bit, maybe not too much without Parker being out of the lineup. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I'm not going to harp on what could go wrong just because a lot of these guys are playing different positions sporadically. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, you bring up a good point with Margot. It makes you wonder: does the organization have serious concerns with him defensively? Malloy, but actually, now that I look at it, it looks like Manuel Margot is a center fielder. He's a center fielder.
So, yeah, he's played a bit of his outfield career in center field, but he can pretty much play anywhere in the outfield. With the, he's a little undersized. He's like 5'10", 190, 195. So he's not a huge guy. So that kind of tells you he's there for range and coverage.
Yeah. Even though, I don't know, it appears that analytics suggest that he's not.
he had been a plus outfielder up until last year.
I was gonna say, yeah, it looks like in 2023 he was 3 outs above average. 2022, no, not qualify. 20, yeah, wow, okay, yeah. In 2021, he was in the 99th percentile with 17 outs above average. Oh my god. So yeah, he's a defensive guy. He's a contact guy. He doesn't strike out, so he doesn't walk a lot, but yeah, he doesn't swing and miss. So he's what Scott Harris would want out of his players. Let's get caught up on the comments, and then we'll take another break here. McKinstry starting is a major concern for me. Yeah, I agree.
Hey,
we did not think this was going to be we did not foresee this happening. I don't think, but
anyone starting at this point would have been a concern. Honestly, let's be real here. Out of all the 4 names that they've tossed around that weren't Matt Vierling, so
yeah. We're relying on Javi and Torque to bounce back seasons. I'm hopeful. Javi, oh my God, he's just so when he gets a hold of something, it's like, oh man, it gives you flashbacks to the old days, but it's just not consistent enough. I think he's hitting 182 right now. Actually, let me look it up. Javi Baez
with an error at third.
Yep. Yeah, 182. And yeah, with at least 1 error. Yeah, 1 home run, 6 RBI. So, like I said, if all I can hope from him is that he hits for some power and he continues to hit well with runners in scoring position. Other than that, everything else is a bonus. Troy says if Hinch can work his magic with the lineup, we can make some noise again with the pitching we have. I think that I would have been more comfortable going into the year with, although we didn't make a lot of changes to our lineup, I think that if Vierling and Meadows are playing in culmination with who we have right now, I don't think I have any worries. Just off the simple fact that Torque looks better. If Torque won't hit, I know Malloy will. Because essentially the only reason why Malloy has a chance on the roster right now is because of the injuries to Vierling and Meadows. But outside of that, when Meadows and Vierling comes back, Malloy it's Malloy or Torque. So, but yeah, Malloy looks good. He hasn't hit his first home run of spring yet, but he's hitting the ball very hard right now. So yeah, and then hopefully Dingler keeps it up as well, because he could be somebody that could bring some spark to the bottom of the lineup as well. We all know that Rogers is about hitting wise, he's about washed. I hate to say it, but I haven't seen too much of anything from him. But let's get to a break. All right. Anything else going on? Oh, well, like I said, today we got to see Mr. McConaughey take Mr. Aaron Nola deep on 406 feet on a fastball right down the middle. But he did not miss it. I was kind of surprised. I was like, wait, is that McConaughey? But yeah. So the young guys have looked great. Max Clark is in the lineup today. I think he has a strikeout looking and a walk. But I was listening to 97.1, and the topic came up about how how thin we are in the outfield, and why not Max Clark? I mean, he's fared pretty well. He is hitting. Where's Mr. Clark at? Oh, I'm on the wrong day. I want to say Clark is hitting close to 300 so far in the spring. Let's see here. Clark is hitting 273 currently. But yeah, he's got a strikeout and a walk today. But the topic came up of, why not give Max Clark a shot with, with us lacking some spark in the lacking some spark in the lineup, and with certainly some questions about Wensiel's defense in center field. But what are your thoughts on them throwing the possibility of Max Clark being an opening day player?
I mean, I did kind of end the last episode saying that,
Yeah.
I proposed that to you. It was either would I come down to him or McConaughey potentially, and it's like, well, there's so much crap going on right now with the injuries, and because of how Hinch likes to approach it, I mean, there's technically potential for every position but second base and catcher, literally on this roster right now as we speak. Every position is up for grabs aside from those 2 of the 9 offensive or fielding positions. So I really don't think there's anything completely off the table yet. I don't think it would be sure, for the fans, like if Max Clark all of a sudden was announced that he was breaking camp with the team with Job, I mean, I think a lot of the fans would probably lose their mind just because of the hype that's been around these guys and how much additional attention and spotlight have been on these guys thanks to shows like ours and other passionate fan bases that cover, Tigers and Major League Baseball. But I think it'd be a little worrisome too at the same point in time that, we're having to push these guys up, because let's be honest here. It would be pushing their timeline up a bit. Some people might argue against that. Job is not, but it's like the dude's barely pitched long in the minors as it has been. So, and it's not really a position of need. He's kind of fallen into a position of opportunity. And he's pitched well, especially much better than the minor leagues. But in terms of Clark, he's progressed. He's only had 1 year in professional baseball, barely one, not even a full year, but a season. So you would hope that, when we looked at someone like Jackson Holiday last year, very well covered in his debut and call up in his time up and down, struggled, got sent down. You just hope that something like that happens where they struggle. It doesn't kind of create a cloud of doubt or uncertainty because of a young kid he's hyped up. He's told he's going to be the next best thing, and he doesn't quite perform well. So that's kind of the thing you hope doesn't quite happen. But again, like Job, if Clark were to come up, I don't think it would be for a terribly long time, just enough to get a taste. And then, guys come back, and then he goes back down to get everyday reps. So if he does break camp, I think the buzz would be unreal at an all-time high. And then after that, it's just about getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I mean, I think the table is kind of, saying the table is set means that it's a foregone conclusion. I still think it's a small chance that it happens, but I mean, he couldn't have picked a better time to be having a good camp. And he couldn't have picked a better time to have a good camp, considering all the injuries that have come to players that literally play the position that he plays. I think that he is. I think that if there would certainly be some crazy hype if it happened, and I think that he is kind of built for the spotlight in the moment. I don't think the lights would be too bright for a guy like that, especially with all that shining. He's used to the glitz and glamour and the diamonds and all that. I mean, he's literally buying jewelry for our Cy Young pitcher. I mean, that just seems crazy. I mean, this guy's only 20 years old, but
that NIL bag hit different.
yeah, no doubt about it. But it would be fun. It would be exciting. It wouldn't be a long-term type situation, but it might be a good opportunity for him to get his feet wet, because I think that the timeline was probably sometime in 2026, but I think that he's done enough to prove that he looks he doesn't look out of place amongst the other major leaguers. And Kevin McGonigal, I mean, I would have thought, I mean, if you follow the minor league, if you kind of follow the minor league type stuff, he has been celebrated as a better hit tool, not so much overall in the full body of work, but I think that he, especially after that home run that he just had against Aaron Nola, he's not as far off as I would have thought. He's 20 years old. He won't be 21 until August. So, still super young, and you don't want to rush these guys, but it's pretty evident the talent is there. And it's just a matter of time, I guess, because I think it's all but certain you're going to see Clark. You're going to see both of them at some point next year, but that may be, that timeline may be increasing, especially because McGonigal is a shortstop by trade as of right now. And Sweeney, good defensive player, but I mean, very shaky at the plate. Baez, very spotty. Obviously there's a little bit more stake in it for him because of the fact that all that money is tied into him. But he's kind of solidified the everyday shortstop by default. That's not even a solid, firm position for him. Because if he comes out the gate, not hitting well, you're going to be forced to see other options at shortstop. Might even be McKinstry on some days, especially against righties. So just something to think about. It's a good problem to be able to even propose, to have this amount of young guys that are legitimately in a position to where they could be even in the discussion of being called up this early. So, Mr. Troy, Clark is the next Bryce Harper. Whew. That is a steep expectation.
Considering those two body types are wildly different.
I mean, I think
Bryce
Clark
is a big dude. Max ain't that big.
He's not that big because I think he's a little shorter, but
yeah, I mean, I want to say by a good few inches at least.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Bryce
Max is just Max is just a different type of outfielder altogether.
Yeah.
He's more 5'-tool. Harper ain't really much of a stolen base guy either.
No. I think he's more so talking about the lefty stroke, and yeah. Harper's 6'2".
Picture this for a moment, real quick. Allow your mind to go here. Let's say we're in 2026 now. Right-handed pitcher against us. Parker Meadows, Kerry Carpenter, Max Clark, Theron Lorenzo, and then Kevin McGonigal, all hitting from the left side.
Shit. And Josue Briseño. I want to say Briseño is left-handed too.
Man, that's saying that Torque no longer with the club. You're cold now. You're cold.
Hey, I mean, I mean, he's a Triple Crown fall ball winner. I mean, it's pretty nuts. Granted, it's fall ball, but still, you still ran every category.
Yeah,
Briseño's he's a monster though. 6'4", 200. That's a big boy. Yeah, he bats left and throws right. Yeah.
No, we did talk a little bit some internal injury stuff. I'll go over briefly some injury news around the league here. There's actually been some ongoing issues with injuries already from a larger scope going back to a couple weeks ago. But more recent news, I think the one that led off the news this morning was the Orioles are placing Gunnar Henderson on the IL. He'll start off the first possibly couple weeks or longer on the IL. I think the more followed story in the last week or two has been the Yankees with Garrett Cole being recommended for Tommy John, and Giancarlo Stanton still battling his fairly serious elbow issue that could sideline him for most, if not all, of the season. Chicago White Sox, man, when they're down, they're down. They're arguably their best starting pitcher they had left after they finished their fire sale, Drew Thorpe, undergoing Tommy Johns. He's done for the year. Some Braves news. Acuna made his spring debut from his knee surgery last year. Guy's walking on 2 semi-shattered knees now. He's got 2 ACL pairs in each total. And then Spencer Strider made his debut after Tommy John surgery from last year. And I think the bigger one of concern, actually we'll get to the end of it here. Also, former Tiger Joe Jimenez could miss all of 2025 with the Braves as well with a knee injury. Boston starting pitcher Yoshida to start on the IL, and Lucas Giolito to start on the IL for the Red Sox, not off to a good start. And I think the biggest one that technically already started this season over in Japan, the Dodgers' Mookie Betts came back home after only being in Japan for a few days, and he lost allegedly up to 15 pounds in like 3 days and flew back home. And there's some concern that he actually could be dealing with a much more serious illness that could sideline him for longer into the season as it starts. So hasn't really been an update. And then our former Tiger, Max Scherzer, now with the Blue Jays, could be facing a potentially a weird career-ending thumb injury here that's been plaguing him for the last 2 seasons, has not been able to get it resolved, and he is looking at other options and medical opinions at this time as he's been dealing with this thumb issue now for a little over a week with Toronto. His status for opening day series is uncertain as well.
So who did you say got sick overseas?
Mookie Betts.
Oh, yeah.
Allegedly lost up to 15 pounds very quickly in the few days he was out of the country.
And he's not that big of a dude. He's probably out here looking crazy.
He's a lean guy, yeah. So
yeah.
If you lose that much weight that fast, he's having trouble keeping something down. So in layman's terms.
Yeah. So, we'll wait to hear more developments about that. But I'm sure he's getting right as we speak. Mr. Troy says Job has better stuff than most pitchers in the league right now. Rookie of the year is possible for him. Yeah, if he can stay up and just work on his command a little bit. But yeah, he's definitely going to strike some guys out once he figures out, figures the league out a little bit. But the future is bright. We got a lot of young guys, and we just need to get healthy at this point and just hold serve, I guess, until we can get some guys back. But I don't think that, even if it's like last year where our pitching staff is just holding things together, a healthy Green, Carpenter, Torres, we got some guys that should be able to produce some runs. Once again, it's just that bottom of the lineup. When you get to the McKinstries and Baez's and Rogers of the world, like you're gonna have some shaky. You're gonna have some shaky innings. So, any closing remarks as we are only 4 days, and I think we got 3 games. Well, counting Philly, I think we got 2 or 3 games with San Francisco before we head to LA for the opener.
Yeah, I think not the break we wanted to start with. Guys already being out that we weren't accounting for, spring training reporting time. So they're gonna have to. I mean, I don't want to say I hate to say it. I mean, it is what it is right now. They're, like you said, they're gonna have to weather the storm for the first couple of weeks here and just do their damnedest to just kind of keep their head above water. Honestly, for me, like until we can get a timeline of Meadows, but it looks like April's pretty much out of the equation right now. 500 is kind of going to be the target number for me first month of the year. Be around 500, give yourself an opportunity. They're going to have to win some ugly games, low scoring. I would not be surprised if they lose a couple early by some big margins, just with all the flipping around and the managing of the lineup, not related to pitching. There's going to be a day where the pitching may not be there and the offense probably won't be there either. So it'll look ugly in some of those games early. So that's kind of what I'm projecting. But I mean, 500, I think, is a fairly reasonable ask with the guys they have projectedly to break with for the first month at least.
Yeah, Troy says we're winning that opener in LA. School. Great show, guys. It's going to be fun here. Appreciate you. Yeah, it's going to be electric to see School pitch in that opener. He should be done for the rest of the spring, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, or they might get like, a 1 inning thing here at work. You don't want them sitting too long. I mean, opening day's March 31st, right? Out in LA for the Dodgers. So if they're not pitching beyond this weekend, it's kind of a long time to be sitting, unless they're going to do some type of like simulated pitching, in the middle of this coming week to kind of bridge their 4 or 5 day rest parameter. So that'll be interesting. And I know Hinch hasn't said anything about it, but it does not appear that we will be having any type of opener situation going forward. So I would imagine that he might hold that in reserve for any, late scratch kind of scenario. Guy comes up, gets, back spasm or something, 2 hours before game time, and now he's got to go to an opener approach. But we look like we're right back to traditional baseball. So I don't think, that magical run that we had with that approach last year, I think we can pretty much put that in the time capsule and bury that in the backyard.
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of okay with that being the routine situation. Obviously, if the scenario makes sense, maybe we go to that out the blue. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with the 5-man rotation that we got rolling out there, especially with all the starting pitching we have. We should never be in an instance where we just don't have any starting pitching. So we'll see how things go. The Dodgers only have one lefty on their staff, and that's Blake Snell, or not on their staff, but on their current, starting 5, and that's Blake Snell. So I presume that Ibanez will be in the lineup probably at third base in that particular instance. But we'll keep you guys posted on everything as we get closer. Troy says I'll be at opening day, Detroit, second year. Oh, wow, that's exciting. Yeah, that is going to be lit. Hopefully we get some good weather for that game, because we know there's always a possibility that it could snow, but it's also been, we've also got some high 60s, low 70s in the last couple of days. So it could be one of the two. So yeah, for everybody else, who wants to be posted on everything that's Detroit Tigers, you can find us on Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube and Corner to Copa on all audio aggregators. We'll be back next week. What is the date for next? So next Sunday will be the 30th. So what? That's the day before opening day?
Yeah, I believe March 31st is our opening day in LA.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
So yeah, we could possibly have some more news. It wouldn't be a Corner to Copa show if there wasn't some breaking news right as we were going live. And just an update, that is the signing of Manuel Margot, who was a center fielder who was just released by the Milwaukee Brewers, but a veteran outfielder that's bounced around a little bit. So I guess we'll look for more information, and we'll have more by next week on that as well. But until then, we're out.
Peace.